Okay guys, this is your instructional video for 5G2. This is labeled as the extra practice in Google Classroom. So if you haven't had a chance yet and you'd like to, go ahead and pause this video and go print out the extra practice. If not, and you can do it with me, but if not, you can do the extra practice after by either printing it out and doing it right on the paper, or you can pull it up, look at it on a device, and just write your answers down on another sheet of paper. You do not need to do this and turn it into me. I recommend you watching this video and then doing the work and then doing the interactive notebook, but you don't have to turn this extra practice into me. Got it? All right, so your vocab words for this section is graph, point, quadrant, and coordinate values. The definition to graph is a visual way to show tables of numbers, so it's just a visual way to see information or to see data. A point is a precise location on that graph. A quadrant, we talked a little bit about this last week. We are only working in quadrant 1, but there are 4 quadrants. They look like this. So if this is quadrant 1, which we are working in, this is all positive, positive on your number lines. This is quadrant 2, and this is negative, positive, negative x, positive y. This is quadrant 3, which is negative, negative, negative x and negative y. And then this is quadrant 4, which is positive x, negative y, positive x, negative y. And some of you do know that. We've worked on that stuff in the past, but we are only going to be working on quadrant 1. So the definition of quadrant is a specific region of the coordinate plane. Again, quadrant 1 is what we are going to be working on. Coordinate values, distance from the x and the y axis. So when you look at coordinate values, and they are written like this, in parentheses, x comes first, separated by a comma, y comes second. It gives you a precise or exact location on a quadrant or on the coordinate plane. So the first, we're only gonna do 2 of these. I think on your interactive notebook, there's like 4 different graphs that you're gonna be working with. We're gonna work on 2, and I did take this exactly from the interactive notebook. I just changed the numbers a little bit so you're doing some work on your own. But if you can do this, if you can follow along and this is no problem for you, you'll have no problem on the interactive notebook. It says label the coordinate graph with the appropriate titles and the graph the following data. So we have weeks being 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. We're gonna put the weeks at the bottom, similar to like a bar graph. So this is number of weeks. And if you notice, our coordinate plane or our graph right here goes by 2s. So on the actual coordinate grid, there are the odd numbers too. So if this is 0, this is 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Sometimes you'll see graphs that will skip numbers or will have them a certain value, but they will always be the same distance apart because they are number lines. Same with this one. It goes by 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. But if you notice, this does go 1, here's 3, here's 5, here's 7, and here's 9. So you're always able to fill those in if you need to. Now, if you look at our data, the weeks are even. They're 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, but the hours of walking has a 2, a 3, a 5, a 2, and a 7. So I did write those in so I can put my odd numbers on my graph. All right, so if this is weeks down here, our y-axis would be labeled hours of walking. So I'm going to write that in there, hours of walking. All right, so now we're gonna take our coordinates, which these are coordinates or ordered pairs, and I'm gonna label them. So if this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. So 2, 2, x, y. So I go over 2, up to 2, and there's that point, 2, 2, right? So this next one, this is x, and this is y. So I go over 4, up 3, over 4, up to 3, and if you look, there's that 3. So there's my point on my coordinate plane. And then this one, this is x, this is y. So over 6, up to 5, and there's 5. So this is 6, 5. And then 8, 2, go over 8, up 2. There's that ordered pair. 8, 2. And then 10, 7. So on the 10th week, I walked 7 miles. 10, 7. Okay? So there is your coordinate plane. This looks like a little bit like you could make this into like a line chart like this. That was not a very straight line. Or you could make it into even a bar graph like that. So a lot of times coordinate planes help you create those graphs. Your next question is, what ordered pair shows the longest amount of time walking? So what ordered pair? So the longest amount of time walking is this 7. So that's on the 10th week. So your ordered pair is 10, 7. Or you could write, it says ordered pair. That's what the question asks, is for the ordered pair. So you would need to write 10, 7. Another way of saying that would be the 10th week you walked the longest, or I walked the longest, or walked the longest amount of time. However, the question asked for the ordered pair, so you would need to write that. All right, the next one we're going to be working on is miles ran. So label the coordinate graph with the appropriate titles and graph the following data. So we have day and miles ran. So this is going to be my x-axis. The day and the miles ran is going to be my y-axis, because it's going to go, we're going to see like a variation of how many miles ran. So we're going to put day down here, and then miles ran on the y-axis. So this is x and this is y. All right, so on the days, it's all even again. So we go 2, 8, 12, 16, 20. So you notice that these are evenly spread apart, and it's the same distance between each one. So this would be 2, 6, 10, 14, and 18. And then you notice too that each square is 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, right? So one day would be like in the middle of this, which you can have. We won't need it because we don't have those odd days. We just are working with even days, and we actually don't even need to label that 2, 6, 10, 14, and 18, because if you look at your days, it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. For the miles, though, we do have 4, 10, 13, 8, and 2. And then on this list, it's also the same distance apart. So if this would be 2, this would be 6, 10, 14, and 18. And then you notice there is an odd one, so it's going to be in between the graph, or in between the lines, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So remember that this is X and this is Y. These are your ordered pairs, so you can write those in there to help. So this is 4, 4. So go over 4, up 4. There's that day, 4, 4. So on day 4, I ran 4 miles. On day 8, I ran 10 miles, so go up to 10. There's 10. So that's 8, 10. On day 12, I ran 13. So 13 is in between 12 and 14. So if this is 12 and this is 14, 13 is going to go right in between. So I find 12 and I go in between, and it's right there, right? So that would be 12, 13. On day 16, I ran 8, so it's right there. 16, 8. And on day 20, I ran 2. 20 and 2. Questions are, what day were the most miles run? So you just look here. You can even make this into like a line graph. And the highest one is the most miles ran, so that's 13. So the question is, what day were the most miles ran? What day is that? That's day 12. So your answer is 12. The answer is not 12, 14 or 12, 13. The question is, what day were the most miles ran? And that is day 12. You need to make sure you're answering these questions correctly. How many total miles were run? So what do? Well, here's the miles ran. You just add these numbers up. And so this is 10, 20, 37. So 37 total miles. And then the last question is how many more miles were ran on day 12 than on day 4? So day 12 is right here, and that's 13 miles. And day 4 was 4 miles. So what's the difference between 13 and 4? 9 miles is your answer. All right, so if you can do this work, you should have no problem with your interactive notebook and, to be honest, and with the quiz. I will do a review on Friday with the quiz because the quiz you're going to be taking is talking a little bit more about location and like using a coordinate plane or coordinate grid for like mapping things out and finding locations of things. Hope you guys have a fabulous day.